Okay, this is my second time filming this, because the first take, I was a babbling mess of vitriol. No, we can't have that. I have to be a coherent mess of vitriol. I'm not happy. To sleep in a sea of stars. The longest title I've perhaps ever read, said aloud, besides that Bachman book, and every morning the day back home gets longer and longer. Did I say it right this time? Beautiful cover. Inside, not that great. So quick summary for you spunky sci-fi fans out there who want to get into this. I mean, look at that tempting cover. It's blue. It's mysterious. It looks kind of poetic, don't it? You're falling for it. Stop. I'm your life jacket. Your life preserver. I'm the rope dangling over the cliff. Take my hand. Trust me. To Sleep in a Sea of Stars follows the work of a xenobiologist named Kira. That is all I can tell you about Kira. She has no discernible personality traits besides she likes to learn. She's also in love, as it tends to be with YA protagonists of the woman variety. She and this guy Alan, the dude she likes, they're on this new planet that sounds suspiciously like Alagasia, but it's not Alagasia, it's a planet. They're on this planet doing their scientific things, categorizing, looking at these germs and such, because we're on the hunt for sentient life. And we humans have, expanded throughout the galaxy, probably, but we've yet to find, our equal in brain out there in the wide universe. So we're curious and we're cautious. We're looking for those darn aliens, but we're gonna learn about those germs over there too. Space germs. However, back on this Alagasia kind of planet, Kira is saddened because soon they'll have to leave their mission. It's almost done. That means she and Alan will be separated on different job tasks. But however, Alan comes up with a brainstorm. He's going to propose. They are now fiancés, so they can't be separated. Because, regulations say the married people have to stay married people together. And so they have this grand party, and Kira's all bubbly when she wakes up. She's like, oh, I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna be a bride, I'm gonna have family. Oh, my ring is gorgeous. But then this, teammate of hers runs in and says, hey Kira, can you do me a favor real quick? Yeah, look at my ring. We had a drone that crashed over there. It hit something organic. Can you go check it out, please? Oh, okay, I will. She goes to check it out. She finds the downed drone. It looks like a mangled wreck, but beside it she sees this odd-looking rock of sorts. She gets a little scanner out. Vroom, vroom, zip, zip. Bloopity bloop. She's like, wow, what a peculiar substance. But then, she falls in like a damsel. She tumbles like Alice in Wonderland. And when she stands up, she sees she's in a chamber, definitely not made by humans. She looks around and her scientist training kicks in, like, oh, I can't touch any of this. Can't soil the evidence. I need to get out of this hole. I need to call my superiors, and then they're gonna quarantine this whole planet to examine every inch of this chamber. But then, she makes accidental contact with some mysterious-looking dust. It is a bad thing when dust is the most interesting part of the story. So that's about where we are up to Chapter 2. Can't tell you much there, except that Chapter 4 was the best chapter in this, for very messed up reasons of mine. But oh my gosh. Look, I was so anticipating this book. One of my favorite book series is the Inheritance Cycle. My favorite book of all time is right there. Eldest, Christopher Paolini. I like this man a lot. However, this didn't sound or read like it was by Christopher Paolini at all. The guy who has made such great female characters such as Angela the Herbalist and Nasueda, who crafted an interesting plot with characters that had plights and stories that really captured your attention, dropped the ball into a spiraling pit of muck that kept you bored and stuck in the plot for 880 pages. 880 pages. I paid $14 for that, and I DNF'd it at 31%. 300 mark? I guess, I don't know. I tried to push through it. I tried so hard because I was in a buddy read. And they're like, you can do it, Casey. And I'm like, I'm losing the will to continue. But If that book didn't have Christopher Paolini's name on it, I would have stopped right when my DNF do not finish sense was tingling. Chapter 1. I wanted to quit this book at chapter 1. My DNF sense is never wrong. I have 8 points on why this book was terrible. I have 1 point on why it's bearable, maybe. The one good point. Chapter 4. Get to chapter 4? That's as good as it's gonna get. Enjoy. But we gotta talk about all the issues, and they are big, big issues. So here are all the reasons I DNF'd my most anticipated book of 2020. The first one, which is the biggest one, the main character, Kira. Kira is literally a Mary Sue. I can't describe any part of her besides she's a scientist, because that's it. That's all she does. She's basically a mold. No, I want to say robot, but it's more like we're in a first-person shooter. That's exactly what it is. We're supposed to step into Kira and be like, oh, this is our adventure. That means she's blank and can just perfectly suit us. No pun intended for those who've read this stupid book. I mean, honestly, chapter 1. I should not want to DNF a book at chapter 1, but I can actually describe her. Kira's a bubbling airhead. That's it. I'm not in an adorable way either, no. Just like irritating, taking up space. Like there's no part of her, there's no part of the story that made me get attached to her. Literally, a pocket of air. That's what she is. I never felt bad for her. I never actually wanted her to succeed. I was hoping more chapter 4 stuff would happen, especially on her. And it wasn't just Kira. No. Second point, the side characters. Just as bad. Like, they're nothing. And also, I think books in general, not just this book, make this mistake a lot. They introduce groups of people who have to work together, like found family, in literally groups. Like, here's our new batch of heroes, instead of bringing them in one at a time so we can get to know them. So one of the reasons I really wanted to DNF this book is because I was watching an anime. Okay, you probably know this anime. It's called Haiku. I'm probably saying that wrong. I'm sorry. It's a very good anime. I love volleyball and I love it. But they're different forms of entertainment, but it's storytelling. We can take examples from both. But Haiku is about just a volleyball team coming together, a bunch of misfits, kinda. Some people are obsessed with the game, some have never played the game before but are still obsessed in it, some are just there to be there. But this anime brings these characters in like one at a time, sometimes in twos, but we get the time to get to know the character. We're not just introduced to the volleyball team in one big group. No, we get the person, we get to spend time with the person, and we love the person. In this book, no, none of that was done. In the first couple of chapters, Kira is working with some co-workers of her. They're scientists. Literally all of them are just shoved in our face, along with Alan, her fiance. No time to get connected with anything. We're just speeding off with the plot. So, yeah. And because we don't get to know these characters well, we're not even taking time to get to know Kira well. And again, much later on, when the adventure is really getting on, we're introduced to another group of people from a ship called the Wallfish. Stupid name. When I think of Wallfish, I think of those annoying singing trouts. But same thing happens. We wake up, and all of our future teammates are right around us. Get to know them while you can. And then we're speeding off the action again. Very bad character handling. And I'm a character reader. So that's a star, and my interest knocked off right then. Another issue I have, my third point, is I was watching a video recently discussing Brandon Sanderson, one of my favorite writers. He does fantasy, probably heard the Mistborn trilogy, Stormlight Archive, Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, all that fine jazz, Starsight, Skyward, good books. The way he goes about world building is he goes deep but not broad. With him, we're going straight into a pit of good characters, a deep pit of story, action, and just love. Like, you fall in love with these people. And the world. You can see all of the world. Okay, I gotta admit, Brandon Sanderson sometimes uses way too many interludes for my liking, but we still good with each other. But I think just with sci-fi in general, because we're covering the entire universe, they make the mistake of going shallow but wide. Like, trying to cover everything, we really learn so little of nothing. That's how I felt about this. Shallow but wide, especially like characters and with the world building. It honestly didn't feel any different from any other sci-fi. The technology was kind of the same, really. Oh, there's one thing I did like. The ship mines, those were interesting. Gregorovich. Okay, that guy was my favorite character, because he was off his rocker. Crazy. Called everybody meatbag, I respect that. It's a shame when an intelligent robot has more emotional capacity than a human. And, like, we didn't get time to really bond with any of our characters, so it's an 880-page book. What were we doing? Instead, we were, like, getting all these scientific terms, pulling them off of Wikipedia and encyclopedias, okay? Balling them up and just throwing them in your face. Like, look how smart I am. You never heard of this type of bubble thing? It's a bubble that casts a reflection of yourself in space. I can't remember what it's called, but there. Like, just terms. Like, look at my awesome world building. It's so wide, but there's no depth to it. That was my issue. And whenever I think of this book, I think it's a downgrade of the author's original writing style. Like this right here, it's fantasy, so it's got big words, big descriptions. With something like that, it's easy to kind of get lost in the prose, but I never did. And I actually really enjoy this type of writing style. Descriptions, but not too much, because I don't like descriptions all that much. However, To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, it's adult. We say bad words. We say the F word. We got blood and gore. But it's written like a very juvenile YA, and I was not a fan. And in that, in the writing style, the dialogue, bad. It was just juvenile. Can I reuse that word? Like, I know you write pretty okay dialogue. Example. But this one, it was kind of like cringy DMs. Like, that's how these people were talking to each other. So much exposition just in dialogue. Like, oh gosh, we meet this character. Here's my backstory. Please like me and mourn my inevitable death. Probably. Oh, probably not. No. It's good when you have an adult sci-fi with a lot of horror elements in it. A lot of death. To, like, break up the tension every now and then. I mean, I don't need it. I don't mind being constantly terrified all the time. I wasn't terrified in this book at all. But, oh my gosh, the humor in this book, bad. It was like, look how quirky we are. We have a pig as the ship's mascot. Okay, was I supposed to laugh? But look over here. We lost a bet and we made a mural of cats fighting a pig army on our ship wall. Not funny. Some puns. I love puns, and I didn't even laugh. Like, no, not nary a chuckle. I know that's a double negative, but not nary a chuckle. So yeah, we got the bad dialogue, the bad humor, added with some bad characters. What else do we have? We have some bad names, okay? What's the alien race we're going up against? The jellies. That doesn't actually sound intimidating. What are we going up against? The nightmares. Okay, that's a little better, What's this super awesome weapon we have? It's called the soft blade. I actually don't mind that one that much. This is the one that messes me up. We learn a bit later on that we have to go after this super weapon called, okay, you're gonna tremble at this name, so set your tea mugs down, hold on tight. We have to go and destroy the Staff of Blue. I hear you quaking in your boots. Don't try to hide it. Like, I get that the way we were interpreting what this thing was, the Staff of Blue, was from alien memories, but could you call it the Destructor Stick or something? Something besides Staff of Blue. Maybe it's a lightsaber. I don't know. I DNF'd at 31%. And speaking of names, there was also just a bunch of them thrown out. I like that there was a variety of alien species we do come across. However, because of certain things that happened to Kira, she's able to see some memories from another alien. And when we make these switches from Kira's perspective to viewing these memories, we suddenly go from the juvenile, adult type of writing to kind of a Eragon-esque, over-describing feeling, and it does not mesh at all. It throws off the pacing, and it's just so confusing what's going on in the memories. Like, whenever I read them, I could never remember what I had read. That's how poorly things like that stuck out in my mind. And because we're learning from alien memories, but we have these human terms too, it's hard actually knowing which one's the same one, who is who, because they have different names. But there's one name I do remember. Kinda. I think it's Nelson. It's one of the ship members of the Wallfish. Stupid name. She's kind of like second in command, I guess. First mate, maybe. Now let's say Kira's arrival on the Wallfish wasn't received well. Ended up with some repercussions. It might have cost some lives, some injuries. Someone I wanted to die in this book didn't die. Got impaled. Just walked it off like, oh, well, okay, just saying. I was ready for some actual repercussions in this dandelion of a book. But when Kira arrives on the Wallfish, Nielsen, I guess that's what her name is, does not like Kira at all. Like, hates her, but we also don't see Nielsen that much anyway, so she's not really on our mind. But then Kira has one of those typical protagonists, oh, woe is me, I don't think I can go on, I'm just gonna sit in my room and sulk, and I'm not gonna go to dinner. And then Nielsen just like walks into her room, overrides her lock. She's like, get in there, you think you can sulk, you have to rise above this. And she gives like that motivational speech that's supposed to like kick our protagonist in the butt, light a fire under them or something like that. And I'm like, wait, where did this come from? Because moments like that, the rival like motivates the protagonist, those could be awesome. Those moments when it's like, oh, you thought I was worse than you? Well, I'm actually better than you. Stuff like that. That could be an awesome like dynamic, a bonding opportunity. But these two individuals had barely talked to each other. So I'm like, what gives you, Nelson, the right to actually come in here and say, do this, do this? Why do you even care? So, bad characters, bad relationships, bad writing, bad humor, bad dialogue. And it was this moment with Nelson where I'm like, oh, I quit. I have literally no incentive to be here. But then I found out that this is part of a fractal verse. This will potentially be the first in a series. You guys know the history of that movie, The Mummy, with Tom Cruise that came out? How it tried to set up a cinematic universe so fast that it didn't like perfect the characters it was working with in the beginning, so it flopped. Behold the Mummy in space! Although I do have to say, one good aspect of this book is that it's kind of a retelling of Venom, which is my favorite anti-hero villain out there. So that's okay. Handled poorly because this Venom can't even talk. At least it didn't talk in the 31% I read. So those are the reasons why this book was bad. Like, I thought I was just crazy because I went on the Goodreads reviews and people were like, oh, Kira, she's so real. What happened to these people? Are they okay? I honestly don't get it. There's literally nothing remarkable about Kira. There's a convoluted plot. Oh my gosh. I have a friend, he was talking about what actually happened at the end of the book, and we were laughing. Like, it's ridiculous. You couldn't guess it in a million years. And I kind of want to read it to get to that part. I'm going to have to take it slow one day, because right now, I'm not reading this book. See all these turned books? I have other stuff I could be reading. It's not worth the small amount of time I have right now. And it honestly feels like a punch in the heart, because I have nostalgia towards this author, but, I mean, the dude's 5 books out of 6 with me. We're still fine. But while you were writing this, you could have written book 5 of the Inheritance Cycle. Just saying.